Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Coin. I got my investie on the pod today. Hey,
Hello. Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
this is our third accountability partner meetup. Well, recorded third
Yes.
for the year. And the last one we did was in April. Just in case there are any new listeners, a really big piece of Factora and the wealth circle and wealth building is the idea of accountability, because you're only going to go so far if you have a goal in your head. You're going to go a lot further if you get that goal written down and put a system around it. And you're going to go the farthest if you have an accountability partner, a real human person in place to hold you accountable to that thing you said you were going to do. So,
Right.
even when things aren't always up and to the right, a phrase that we love to talk about, that person's there to encourage you and remind you what you wanted or what you said you were going to do. And so, you're going to hear where we have not been up and to the right this year so far on some of the goals we've had for ourselves.
Yes.
And yeah,
I would also like to say in choosing an investee or an accountability partner, it's so important for that person to be not only positive, but also like on your level of dreaming and envisioning, because I think there are so many different levels of this, and there's a lot of friends that just like that's not their role that they play in your life, that like you play
totally.
such like a specific and amazing role in my life for expansion. I think we both do that for each other, which is like hard. It's not, we expand each other in different areas. We're not only encouraging, but we hold each other accountable, which is good in an accountability partner. But like it's important who you choose.
Totally. And so in the well circle, we set you up with an accountability partner. But if you don't like that person, we'll give you another one. Or if you love them, you can stick with them. What's also
Right.
cool is to see a lot of women finish the well circle and say, I know that my next investment goal is X. Is anyone else focused on that investment strategy or asset class? Because I'd love to link up, monthly for a coffee date in SF. Let's go.
Yes.
So many
And
women are kind of niching in either around the goal or, to your point, around like the level of focus they want to have on their money. And I didn't even know the word expander until last year. And I love that word. Like, you're absolutely an expander for me. We were hanging at the pool yesterday, and I was talking about how, well, we had another friend there, and she was sharing how I used to be stressed before every Well Circle launch, and how I'm just hanging out in the pool during this one, which I was like,
you,
that's because I hang out with Steph, and Steph is never stressed. And she's always chilling. Her schedule is her own. She's all about autonomy and schedule freedom. And that is an expansion for me, because obviously I'm building a company around wealth building for women, but also for myself to have a lot more flexibility and freedom in my life.
yes, yes. And for you being an expander for me I mean so many ways, but like relationship building and business building. Like I didn't know about business before I met you. I was literally a teacher and I didn't know about paper investing. I didn't know. I mean, half of my paper vocabulary came from you and I mean, Factora really. So it's important. And when you join Factora, you're already on the same level as a lot of these women because they're taking the time and they're spending the money to focus on this. So you're already like halfway there. Of course you're not going to want to, vibe with every single person that joins, but like you're already there.
Totally. I actually think there is a really big difference between saying, oh, I'm going to learn something on my own, and saying, I'm going to invest in learning this thing. Because when you exchange your money for value, you're going to pay attention. That is
Yes,
literally, like, think about just that phrase, pay attention. You are paying to give your attention to something, so you're going to focus on it. But,
absolutely.
anyways, you ready to get into it?
Let's go.
Time to hold ourselves accountable. So, okay. First of all, if anybody wants to check out our earlier accountability partner episodes from this year, we kicked it off with our Q1 episode, number 133. And then we filmed another one in April, episode 143. So here is where we're at. Let's talk through what our words were for the year and if we are still vibing with those. What was yours?
Yes. My word was optimization. I was tempted to add in austerity because we made a big financial move last year. But I don't I reject austerity.
You vehemently reject austerity.
I just have such a I hate it. I hate the feeling. I think it's because growing up, it was so I mean, my childhood was so austere. I was just in everything penny pitching, everything was stressful. And so I really, really made a point in my adulthood to, you know, focus on abundance. And if I was feeling stressed, I would just make more money. And so I wanted to say optimization instead of austerity because I think that's a more positive spin on it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's been a really good, I mean, forward trajectory in optimization for me. Of course, it's not all perfect. Like Allegra said, up and to the right is not always true. Do you
Yeah.
want me to keep on going or do you want to say your word?
No. Okay. How have you optimized? Let's see what you're on
Okay.
track doing.
Yes. So I restructured my short-term rental property management. I have 6 units in Austin that just come to my household. So obviously I have multiple partnerships in the real estate world. 6 of them, 6 units are my own that come to my like personal finances. And I was paying before I optimized $7,000 a month for management, cleaning, supplies, all of that. I have gotten that down to $2,500 a month, essentially saving myself $4,500 a month, which is a huge
Huge.
amount yeah,
Huge.
yearly, so much. I've also stabilized those assets and like I was just looking at my occupancy for the past month. I'm 98% occupancy over all 6 units, which that's
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Like no one is doing that right now. And Airbnb is having a moment of like crisis a little bit. People are having really low occupancy, low revenue. And so I'm proud of that segment of my portfolio and it just feels really good.
That's huge optimization. What else have you done to optimize?
We have a friend who has a company called Stay Tiny ATX. It's our mutual friend and our mutual friend I met him through you and he essentially builds tiny homes on people's lands and there's a land lease in place. So he's giving me 25% of any income from Airbnb that comes through that unit. And so it's a great
Model.
model, and I encourage you all to check it out. But
Shout out to Sam at Tiny Home ATX.
yes, Sam, we're hanging out with him tonight. We we had like a tiny sliver of land. Have you seen? I don't think you have seen.
Yeah, no, I went over there.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like almost touching the other house. Like it's so close, but optimization. I had him put that there this past month. I earned $600 from literally doing nothing. I mean, lending my land out so that he can put a little tiny home on it. So
that's as
that's
passive.
another it's super passive, like one of the most passive investments that I have made. And I think that, I mean, that rounds out what else have I done? For my family business, last episode I said we were going to add 6 units to our portfolio. We have completed 3 of them, and 6 will be the remaining 3 will be done at the end of August. So we'll be at 13 units with 7 more to go for our 20 unit goal.
Amazing. What about anything in paper? You
Ooh,
optimize in there?
I'm continuing to contribute to 401k. I hopefully will max out. I've shifted my contribution just based on HELOC goals, which we'll get into at the end of this. But paper is just slow and steady, nothing crazy.
My favorite thing about paper is that that's all it is. You just turn on or off an automation or you
It's
adjust it.
it's
It's
so nice.
for anyone that's listening that's like, oh, they're throwing out a lot of terms because I do. I put on my newbie hat sometimes and I'm like, okay, well, we should probably stop and explain HELOC, which we will.
Oh,
But you know, women come into the wealth circle with a lot of overwhelm when it comes to investing, but they also oftentimes think investing really just means the stock market. And that's one aspect of investing. But my favorite part about the stock market is that once you realize the fundamentals and the basic mechanics of it, it's kind of the most boring and most passive, which is why I love it. Because when you are cash rich and you've got a lot of income coming in, you can scale it up. And when times are different, you can scale it down. You're still going to be contributing whenever you can, but it's just really, it's like an on off switch. Whereas real estate, I mean, I'm watching you gut houses and, her beautiful Lexus, you need to use your freaking truck when you put all this
Yes.
wood in your car. But, that is not as passive of an investment. There's just, you have to find the deal, source the deal. Like she just bought from wholesalers. She was explaining that to me. You know, that's a new thing you've done.
Yeah.
And then you got to get all the parts and you have to hire the contractors and you have to manage them. And then there's always like things that are happening up until the 11th hour. Then when you're renting it, you have to deal with tenants and their needs. And it's just not passive to get a property up and going and rented. And even when you rent it, it is a lot more passive than that initial phase, but nothing is as passive as turning on and off your stock market investments.
Yes. I think the scale of passivity is large. Like literally there's a button that you press on the computer to like literally getting your hands dirty on a project. And usually the returns reflect like it's the inverse, right? So I've seen wild returns on real estate, like wild, and I'm still holding a lot of properties that will eventually give me like insane returns. However, it is not passive, and everyone should know that before they get into anything. But it does shine a light on the passivity of paper and how like we should be doing all of these things. Maybe not everyone needs to be swinging hammers, but in some capacity, investing in. That's why diversification. It's like the
Totally. And we
key.
haven't even talked about business. Business is the hardest. To build a business, you have to have the idea. Then you have to put the idea out into the universe. Then you have to show up every day and talk about that idea. Then you got to find customers. Then you have to make sure that your customers are happy. So, like on that scale of passivity, the stock market becomes the most simple, easy. Like once you understand how to set up an investment portfolio, great. You just make sure it's rebalanced and you contribute more or less depending on what's happening in your personal life and what your overarching goals are. Real estate, more passive, or excuse me, more active, and business,
Yeah,
far more active. But like
far.
I said, it is definitely, and we go through these asset classes and their characteristics, the return, the ease back to liquidity, and meaning getting your cash out, and the likelihood of success from them are all very, very different.
Yes.
Stock market is
Yes.
like slowest but easiest kind of calculated growth. Real estate and business is wild variations depending on what you're doing and how much effort you're willing to put in. But okay,
Absolutely.
that was a really good catch up on your word and what you've been up to. So
Yeah.
I had two words this year because why not? One of them was ease, and the other one is self responsibility. And in thinking about this, well, here's how I defined ease: don't cause unnecessary friction, just let things be easy. Stop dry humping or forcing things to be done my way. Done is good enough. That is the exact definition I wrote on my Notion board. I say dry humping a lot, and that's because I feel like I have dry humped my way through life sometimes. It's no good without lube.
It's
Is all I can say.
dry is not good.
Dry is not good. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. And so I am really proud of myself. This year, I've been building a lot of new neural pathways instead of kind of defaulting to something is wrong or it's not good enough or nitpicking. I'm choosing to see it so differently, And the best way I can do that is staying in a gratitude practice and reminding myself I have everything I wanted 5 years ago. I have a healthy daughter. I have a beautiful marriage. I'm sitting in a gorgeous home. I'm talking to my bestie investie. We get to source deals and talk about our finances all the time. I get to teach women about investing so they can shed overwhelm for confidence around money. Like literally my life is a dream. And so why do I need to make it hard or frustrating for myself? So I'm really, really proud of my work here. And I want to be clear, it has been work. I see a coach every week. There is
Yes.
homework that I must do. I have to maintain this gratitude practice like a habit. I have to write it down. I have to think about it before I'm going to sleep. My last thought has to be gratitude for me to have a good day the next day. And it's not easy to remember that when I want to bitch.
Yeah. Well, it's what is making this not easy, but making this possible for you is the personal accountability, a personal responsibility piece. Like you're saying, being happy and being content in my life is my responsibility.
Mm,
I everything that happens in my life is because of me, good or bad.
yeah,
And that is the key to everything.
I know.
It's incredible. I mean, it and hard.
When there's
And
no
like,
one to blame and you have
yes.
to look at yourself, it is really illuminating.
Absolutely. And coaching is so key. We have the same coach. It's so amazing because you can get in a loop and you can start to blame other people and you can get to this dark place that you can't get out of because it's not you didn't get there because of you, because you got there because of other people, and that's
You can't see
not
otherwise.
productive. Yeah.
Yeah. And a coach will help point that out. A good one.
Yeah.
And ours is
Yes.
an absolute angel.
She's the
On
best. I
here.
know. I know. We're so lucky.
Oh, yeah.
And she's technically a business coach, but she's helped us personally because it's all so intertwined.
And then my other word was self responsibility. And with that one, I defined it as stop depending so much on Jake for things I can do myself. That's my husband. And start driving again. So I didn't drive for a baker's dozen years. Whenever I play two truths and a lie, I'm always like, never have I ever driven in the last 10 years. Never have I ever, I always do something like dyed my hair because I'm a redhead and sometimes people think that's fake. Um, or have fake nails. People always think I have fake nails, but I just have really fucking good nails. So I trick people with the driving because who the hell in their adult life that lives in Texas does not drive? Me, folks. It was me. So I got my license. I'm really proud. I actually uncovered a lot of trauma around driving with our coach. I don't even know if I've shared this with you, but I grew up with a parent who was very irresponsible with their drinking and driving. And I had just a ton of fear and over like active brain when it comes to the idea of driving and being responsible for other people's lives. So, anyways, I've handled my shit. I'm still working through it, but I'm a mother, and it's very important for me to not only drive, but drive really well. And so that is what I'm focused on.
Oh, I you haven't shared that with me. That's great. And you're driving.
I'm driving.
Your license came so responsible. So that I feel like success a little over halfway through the year with both of our words or all three of our
Oh,
words.
I'm feeling really good about the words.
That's amazing.
Okay,
And
what
what
are some,
else?
yeah, I was gonna say, what are some other things that we shared in other episodes that we're working on? I can start because I know that one of my goals was to summer out of ATX, and I did that. I spent a month in North Carolina in the mountains with the most perfect weather, daily little rain showers. It was just the most beautiful weather surroundings, hikes every morning. We stayed at an Airbnb farm with the owners of the farm. They were so lovely. We hung out with them like every other afternoon and we saw bears on occasion. It was great. Um, so check. That was off my list. What was
That's
going to write my
amazing.
list?
I had one. I
What
my
was it?
my biggest I mean, I mentioned the big move that we made last year, which was buying our house. And I hesitate to say dream house because it is probably not the house I will like die in. But it's the best house we've ever lived in. And I've really let myself settle in, buy nice furniture, and it feels so good. We'll be here for a while. So it's like I can buy furniture that really fits and that like I love, and it's a work in progress, but it feels really good.
I'm going to dig into that one a little more for you because listeners are probably like, well, who wouldn't buy things they like for their home? Steph. I have seen her in so many houses, and she was willing to always consider that this house was a part of her portfolio. And so she was buying what was going to make it a good rental for later, which was still a smart move. Like you were buying cool stuff, but you weren't buying like your dream television or armoire or bed frame because you were not allowing yourself to do that at that time. And so it has
Right.
been really lovely watching you actually buy and covet the things that are going to make you happy. And I think that this is a really good values based goal because some women are maybe concerned that Factora is going to like judge you for your spending, and they quickly realize it's just the opposite. We make money. We work hard for money as women. We need to spend it on the things that we are going to love and are going to make us feel good. Now, that doesn't mean we
Yes.
can spend it on absolutely everything without considering our future. We need to invest first, but obviously, we're doing a lot of investing here. So, with the remainder of our income, we just need to buy the things that are really worth it to us. And it's been so cool watching you with your house, like really make it a home because you know you're going to be here for a while. And you haven't, I've not seen you do that with any of your other houses. Like your last
No.
house, I remember you being like, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and this when we move out for our tenants. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Why wouldn't you redo the kitchen right now for you? And you
So
didn't.
that was probably a mistake because that was like a 10-minute project. But it was just like we're pushing it off. We're not going to do it now. Why spend the money when it's just going to be done before our next tenant. So I definitely, yeah, sacrifice some comfort in the long, I mean, in for the long game. And it's been worth it because now I have this portfolio of properties that I didn't have to spend much capital to get because I bought them as primary residences and moved right in. But yeah, along the way, definitely sacrifices. And I love that you said that about values-based spending because we're not here to tell you to stop drinking lattes. Like this is
Hate the
not.
fucking okay factor.
I
Fuck
hate it.
any, truly fuck anyone who says women are shooting themselves in the foot by buying nice $7 lattes. That is not what is wrecking our future. Okay.
Right.
If I hear one more condescending financial influencer say that shit, I'm going to take to social and get mean.
Yeah, I feel that I see some I mean, I see some like very scarcity mindset financial accounts that I just really think are damaging. I think it's a really bad headspace to be in to stop spending. I mean, obviously we're not, yeah, not trying to spend on every single thing, but if you love something, you should have it. And if it's going to really make your life better, you should have it and you should make more money so that you can get it.
I love that. Yeah, I think we're both in the same place. We are both in our first houses that we have actually bought furniture for the home and us, as opposed to for the real estate portfolio that we're
Yes.
compiling. And it's interesting that we kind of slow down at the same time because we're at very different stages in our life and um well, life stages because I just had a kid. You don't want one that I know of.
Yes.
And um you also had a much bigger real estate portfolio before you slowed down. I did not have it in me to do as much as you did. Well, we also kind of got hijacked by COVID era
Yes.
and then the happy prices ending on real estate in Austin. But I'm glad we acquired before then. But it's just been really interesting to see how that has changed because I was the same. I literally only bought things off of Facebook Marketplace or um, Wayfair, like stuff that was not quality that I did not want, but I didn't want my house to be unfurnished. And I wanted to make sure that I could leave this for a furnished rental when I moved out. And by the way, the strategy we're referring to is buy a primary, flip into a rental, because when you buy a primary residence, you can put as little as 5% down as opposed to putting 20% down, which a lot of people think you have to put. And that's not true. Now, you are going to pay
Yes.
primary mortgage insurance if you don't put 20% down. But we always talk about it's about the numbers and the nut and your expenses and your goals, not just rule of thumbs out in the ether. So
Yes.
for me, I was able to use $40,000 to buy 3 houses instead of one because I was putting 5% down, living in it for a year, and then turning it into a rental, getting another one.
Yes. And that, I mean, it's just one of the best ways to build a portfolio, in my opinion. Um, but obviously, it's hard for people because you want to keep up with the Joneses. You want to have the nice house right away. You want to stretch your budget to the very maximum and be in your dream house right away, which we reject.
We reject and we get like it is so hard to not want to be in a house that you turn into a home, but we see
Yes.
that off for the long-term benefits.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, what else?
We
Any other good stuff? Oh, I have one. I've done a podcast on pricing of having a child and how expensive it can be. But one thing that I was really trying to figure out this year and I finally happened upon and it's been amazing is childcare for Lucia. We were doing a private in-home nanny. While that was amazing, it's obviously the most expensive. And the drawbacks of it are that I could hear like my baby all day long when I'm trying to record a podcast. And I wanted to play with her the whole time. So it was just like really, really frustrating for me to feel like, oh, I'm paying this other woman to be right outside my office doors with my child, which I want to do when I can hear her. So then we
yes.
looked at daycares, and I was like, no, 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 no. There are way too many children, not enough staff. At the ones we looked at, I'm sure there is a myriad of options. And then we found this amazing Goldilocks situation where we are doing a nanny share that happens at the other family's home. So Lucia gets to be there, socialized with another child. That nanny is amazing. She's also taking them on play dates. They're enrolled in a music class. They go to the museum. They go to splash pads. She's having so much more fun than just sitting at our house, anyways. And I don't have to hear her and miss her simultaneously. Um,
Right.
but it's the best thing ever when I pick her up. And it's not as expensive as having in-home nanny care.
Yes, I love your motherhood journey because you built a business, you made it a priority to be able to spend time with your daughter and your family. You want more kids, and you're making a life where that's possible, where you're not relying on other people to pay you and give you maternity leave, and you have control over that. That's a dream.
Thank you. Thank you. That's like the nicest thing someone could say to me because I feel very, very, very proud and honored to be living that dream. I
Yes,
want
yes.
all
I
women to
mean,
have that. That's kind of why
yes,
I'm such a big proponent of entrepreneurship for women because I think that if more women are able to use their skill set to start a side hustle, get validation, turn that into a business as it makes sense for them, then they don't have to answer to an employer about said employer's maternity leave.
right.
They can establish a business in their 20s and have children in their 30s, if that's their timeline, um, on their own like accord. And
Yes.
yeah, I think there's so
Yeah.
many key stuff when it comes for working in corporate America that like your healthcare is dependent on your company, your maternity leave. I'm like, wait, these back to self responsibility. To me, these don't make sense to depend on a corporate structure. They make sense for me to determine for my family. So if all I have to do is create a business that can provide value to the world and also value to my family, as well as the decisions around how I spend my time, I am going to do that 100%.
Yes, I think that that's such a good. Obviously, business isn't for everyone, but I
Totally.
do think that people should explore it more than they do because they're thinking corporate is safer, job is safer, and we just don't think that's always necessarily the case
No,
when
I debunk
you.
that in the wall
I
circle.
know.
Literally,
Yes.
you depending on your entire financial livelihood from one source is the riskiest thing you can do. I know it's counterintuitive, but the best thing you can do is diversify your income through investing. Because, like we said with the stock market, that's the easiest way to take your money and put it somewhere where it can grow because it's literally in an asset that can return you money. When you spend
Right.
money, you don't get it back. But when you buy assets, you can get more money. And so that is a great way to do it. And another way is side hustle. Another way is entrepreneurship. Another way is real estate.
Right, right. And multiple income streams, the more the better. We should probably count ours. Do you know how many income streams you have?
Well, it's so funny because I feel like Whitney and I always talk about this. And I think she likes to count real estate as just a one income stream, but I like to count individual properties because it's different amounts and it's different types that I'm doing. So
Right.
how do you do it?
I mean, that's the thing. I
You kind of
if
lump
I
your
were
business, right?
right, I could do it per LLC, I guess, because that's a little bit different. But I have right now, I'm just looking at my property list. I have 22 properties that equal 32 doors. So that could be either 32 streams of income or one.
Yeah. See, that's where I don't have like a final thought on this, but
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is 32 different assets that are bringing you
Right.
income. So if you were to shut
Right.
one down, now you have less streams or less total. So it really is the same thing. It's just how you want to identify it.
Right. Right. But all to say, definitely more the better. And relying on one income stream, your 9 to 5 job is to us the riskiest thing that you could possibly do.
Totally. And then I feel the same way with the paper asset portfolio too, because I'm like, am I doing it per account? Or am I,
Right.
because also in one of our accounts, we focus on just dividend producing income. So that one obviously is the biggest stream. So, anyways, I don't have an answer for you folks, but I have a lot of
Right.
places that I make income from.
Yes, yes, and we're always trying to increase that number. But I well, do you want to start our negatives,
Yeah,
our
let's do
sad
it.
ones?
Yeah.
Um, in all of my income streams, a gross top line, and obviously everybody, this is like before all expenses, like before all of my mortgages, which are many, and all of it. I had a goal of making $1 million this year between me and my fiance, and we are off track, which kind of leads us into the real estate market this year. Um, the economy in general has taken a big turn since last May in 2022 um, due to interest rates. Interest rates are a huge driver of the economy, and the manipulation of said interest rates are going to affect a lot of economic triggers and levers. And um,
What are interest rates right now? We're recording this on August 10th, 2023.
So mortgage interest rates are different from the Fed rate. I don't know exactly what the Fed rate is right now. Actually, let me look it up. Um, but the mortgage interest rates are 7 plus.
Yeah.
I just saw something that's
7.15 is what I saw this morning.
yes. So this week the Fed rate is 5.5. So basically, the mortgage companies are, they're taking that difference, that delta, as income. So mortgage rates are always going to be higher than the Fed rate. And that means that people are less likely to want to buy because the interest rate does have a large influence on the monthly payment. And so when you're making a certain salary, it precludes you or excludes you from like a large amount of real estate because of the prices. So the market in Austin, prices were so high, interest rates were low, and people were able to afford it. And as soon as they started to increase, buyers started to drop off. So a lot of my income is based on that. And so our income is just lower this year. However, since I have so many streams of income, like we're totally fine. It's just we're very not on track for that $1 million gross.
But I also want to share this, and this is part of why you are my investie, is because you are that expander for me. And the fact that you got on here and we're like, our household is going to make $1 million. We're going to generate $1 million in income this year is already such a sky high goal that I fucking love it. I encourage it. And who cares if you're off track? I mean,
Yeah.
most people don't bring home $500,000. So that's
Right.
like, I love the shoot for the moon, land upon the stars.
Yeah,
Why not?
exactly. Why not? Why not? It's abundance mindset. That is, as soon as you set that goal, that becomes a possibility.
Even
It
if you
is
don't reach
not
this year. Like, I know that
right.
your household will have $1 million generating year personally.
Right. Someday we will do that. Maybe next year. But our rental portfolio, I mentioned this just ours, me and Alan's together, will bring in that 300,000 gross, which is great. So I've built that over the years into Yeah, 300K. That's something to be proud of.
That's something to be very proud of. I remember, I feel like I remember when you wanted that to be 60,000, or was that net?
Maybe net, maybe net. But probably, I mean, I probably knew you before I was making 60K on my real estate portfolio back
60,000
in
was the year.
2018.
Yeah, I'm
A
trying to
year, yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else is off track for you? Anything else?
Um, well, that was like the top line, like everything's contributing to that being off track. So definitely our income because it's based on real estate sales. Alan's an agent for Open House, which is my company. And overall, we're just going to do a lot less business this year because there's a lot less business being done in the market. Um, we just saw something where it was like, here are the stats of the agents in Austin. And we are among like the top 5% of agents in Austin, which is amazing. However, across the board, it's a lot lower than last year. So that's off track. Our business income is off track. And then we definitely were making more on Airbnb last year, so that's a little bit off track. Um, but yeah, that's so having to adjust to that just because we based all of our goals off of last year's numbers. It's a big lesson to just like everything doesn't move in a straight line up and to the right.
That's like our catchphrase.
Yes.
Because we're so positive and we're such big dreamers, we just assume that things are always going to go up and to the right. And this has been a really good lesson, I think, for both of us, that it's not
Yes.
always that way.
Yeah, and it has been for both of us. Like we really have. We've grown our net worth every year. We've grown our businesses every year. We've grown our incomes every year, and we're not doing that this year. It's tough, but like we've built structures around it so that it's not like devastating.
Yeah, and we like to talk a lot about cash on cash return. Both of us started our businesses with like no money, and we've
Yes.
made a lot of great strides from owning those businesses, both not just like personal income, but also flexibility and lifestyle. So that's been huge.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about your HELOC?
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about what a HELOC is first. HELOC stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. I took a HELOC out on the house that I lived in last. Usually, and these rules change all the time, but when I got a HELOC, you could only get it on your primary residence that was not creating any income, which was true for me at the time. I got that HELOC for $330,000, which was the delta between what I owed and 80% of the value of the house. Amazing. I used a portion of that money from the HELOC to put a down payment on the house I live in now, my, quote unquote dream house. So worth it. However, the HELOC interest rate is variable. So we are paying interest and quite a lot of interest, and it's like so worth it. Like we just looked at the interest year to date. It's high, but like we love our house. Like we're so much happier. So like it's really worth it. And that's like the abundance mindset I'm talking about. Like if you told me that I would have spent 9K on interest on something that like I didn't have to 10 years ago, I would have cringed. But now I'm like, this is worth it. But I do want to pay that down. So my goal by the end of the year is to pay at least half of the HELOC off through some like sale or income or something.
So what? So what's the HELOC sitting at now, both
209
total and interest rate?
Yeah, $290,000. The interest rate is 8%. And we're if we sold the house that we lived in last, then we could just wipe it out in one go and it would
But
be
you have
done.
tenants in the house.
But we have tenants there until December, so we don't want to do that, and it's a tricky market right now, especially for the price point that we would want to get.
So
So
you're considering selling it at the end of the year, but unknown.
unknown, and it will depend on what the interest rates do.
Okay, but so your goal, so I can hold you accountable, is to at
Yes.
least cut the current amount. So let's just round to 300. You've already paid off
Yes.
50 grand, but let's just round to 300 into 150 by the end of the year.
150. Yes, exactly. Okay, okay.
Noted.
Yes, thank you.
We can
Okay,
do it. I mean, you have so many houses. You could definitely sell any house.
yes.
Or, things could pick back up. I have faith.
Exactly. I think so too. And really, when I'm thinking about which house to sell, we've talked through this so many times. So this is not news to you. It's all about the balancing of like how much cash flow is that house creating? Because I have some houses that are creating like $3,000 a month in cash flow above the expenses. It would be unwise for me to sell that house, you
Definitely.
know? So it's like, it's all, that's why it's so important to have someone to talk these things through with. I don't talk about this with just anyone. Like me and Allegra are like granular, like, okay, if I sold this one, what would happen? Like, this is important to me.
Totally. Well, speaking of selling houses, I'm selling a house right now.
Literally today, we're about to list it.
Um, and I should talk about why. So,
Yes,
because I'm definitely a long term buy and hold type of gal, but this is the only property I own in partnership with 50% silent partner. And they moved out of the country and would prefer to not have any real estate. However, this real estate purchase was made through an LLC, which is good for them because, you know, they're totally safe, even though they've divested out of all their other property. But because we bought it in an LLC, it had a much higher interest rate. So it had a 5.5, whereas our other properties are under 3. We were still cash flowing off of this property pretty good. Like both partners were making $500 to $600 a month, which is awesome. I was using
really
that
good.
to fill up my IRA every year. But this year, I have not taken any money from the property. We're using all of the money that's in the property account to get it market ready for listing and selling, which we had to clean it and touch it up and stage it and put in landscaping. So the reason that we're doing that is because Jake manages this property. And of all the properties in our portfolio that he manages, this is the only one that takes up way too much time and stress. So we spent $0 to acquire this property. We did all the sweat equity. We converted the garage into a studio unit. We lived in it. There was a whole situation where we thought we were going to tie into a pipe in the kitchen that was right next to the garage, but really we had to do a 15-foot trench diagonally across the floor, and the floor was tile, and it was just a shit show. I've never lived in so much dust in my life. I still have that dust in my body. And I learned so much, and we're ready to take this off the table and receive our proceeds. Now, could we hold on to it for many more years because Tesla is built on the other side of it and more things are going up over there and the neighborhood is getting better and they just built an apartment complex and gas stations and blah, blah, blah? Yes. But is it worth the level of stress? No. And I want to have another baby, hopefully by the end of this year. So I don't want my husband to have to run over there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We also had a bad experience with a tenant. We had a great experience. It's 2 units, and we had such a good tenant in one side that they actually helped us with some of the bad tenant situation on the other side, which is not their responsibility. And the most amazing thing, and we're just ready to move on from that property.
Yes, that it demonstrates how personal it is, how personal real estate is. It's not a blanket statement. It's a good time to sell. It's a good time to buy.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect. It doesn't work that way. It is whether it's annoying for you, whether it's how this is affecting your quality of life. Like all of that goes into the decision whether to buy or sell. So we are listing today, and it's exciting. It looks really good.
It's
We
actually
still
a great, great, great house. Here's the other thing. If I could short term rent this house, I would definitely not be selling it. But it is in a neighborhood that is very much a neighborhood. People live there, and you can't do what you can do on the east side that it's like totally standard and everyone's used to it. And there's a bunch of different cars and no big deal. That could not happen with this house. So it was either long term rent or sell. And we're opting to
right,
sell. And we're really excited that we've added this garage apartment because someone can buy it and reduce the amount of money that they pay on the house because they have a
right,
roommate they never see living in the studio apartment, or they can legally Airbnb it because it's a house that they live in and they can rent that garage. So I'm very excited for whoever gets this house because I think it's an incredible property. Also, it's got the hugest backyard ever. You could build a back house in the future. Like there's so many options. Um, And I'm excited to sell my first house because I've never had that experience. I only buy
Yeah.
houses until now.
Yeah. Same. That's exciting. That's a big one. And I think offloading real estate in it's not always easy because you're gonna look back. You were banned from looking at the value of it
No
in
way.
5 years.
There,
I will.
like literally, you would have to take Redfin and Zillow down. There is no way I won't look up this property's address every month. No, but
No.
I'll continue getting the Redfin reports on its value. I get the Redfin reports on every single one of my houses, and I file it in that house's address folder every single month. And I will continue to get these, and
Oh
that's what
no.
it is.
It's okay. It's okay. But really that like you just can't think about it. Like you have to maybe you're gonna look at it, but you can't beat yourself up because the value of real estate, that's why I love it so much. There are peaks and there are valleys. It's obviously not a straight line up and to the right, but it is a trending line up and to the right for real estate in general. Like 20 years ago, real estate was cheaper than it is now.
Well, also, we've
So,
only had this house since 2019, and
right.
we're going to make great proceeds from it because we bought
Yes,
it
yes, yes.
pre-pandemic. We added this garage passive income unit. Like there, it's all good. And
Yes.
here's another real life real estate story. Another one of our properties needs a foundation, which we didn't really recognize when we moved in. And then we added a back house to that unit. And now we're in a back permitting situation where we ungrandfathered the front by building that back house, and we have to install a foundation. So guess what these proceeds are going to go to? Our other real estate property, which is kind of annoying, but also kind of great because now we have a pocket of money that we $0 in just effort, and now we're going to take this money out and enhance another property that we want to keep for a long time because it's in
Right.
such a great location.
That we know will be like the hot, hot, hot areas. And we've lived in Austin for long enough to see it already happening. So I think that's a great way to sum that up. Like this is real estate is not passive. You didn't put any money into this, but you did put time. So it's not an infinite return on an investment. Like
Right.
this is sweat equity is something.
Yes.
Um, and you're optimizing. You're optimizing your properties that you want to keep for a long time by offloading one. It's great.
Totally. Okay. What do we
Yay.
want to accomplish by the end of the year?
I kind of said mine already. You have to do what's yours? Mine is my HELOC.
Oh yeah. You want to pay it off by 50%.
Yes.
I want to get pregnant with another baby.
Yay. You make them good.
I make real cute babies. Well, just one, but I only have a sample size of one. But yeah, it's crazy. I was not ready, and now I feel like I'm definitely getting ready again. I had a friend over recently who was pregnant and has a baby my age, and I suddenly got this just feeling of, oh my gosh, you're so lucky you're about to get a newborn. You're going to sniff its little head. It's just going to be completely dependent on you. And I guess this time that I went through with Lucia that it was so recent, I didn't look back on at all yet. I just got nostalgic for, and I was like, oh no, this means I'm ready to do it again.
Yay. And
That's,
you always wanted multiple. So it's like it's cool that you're already ready when it's been just over a year. Like just not even
I know
to
she turned one.
tomorrow. Oh, that's so nice. It's Lucia 1 year anniversary too.
I know. Well, we're not going to
Anniversary.
wait till the end of the year, but that's the goal. Baby
Right.
making.
Love it. That's so exciting. And again, you're just in such a good spot and because of you, because of what you created. So I think that's a good note to end on. Mine is a less touching goal and yours is a very like sweet and touching one.
I love how supportive we are of one another and honest
Yes,
and raw.
I know. It's so fun. I really encourage everyone to have this process. What we meet every
Every
month?
every no, I think it's like
Every
every other Friday.
Yes. And we meet to get our nails done quite a lot when we do this, which is just demonstrating like that's luxury. That's so fun.
I was going to say, when you said that your word was austere, I'm like, the reason that you reject that is because your real deep down word is luxury. Steph is
I
always like,
know.
what a luxury. That's a luxury. Oh, this is so luxurious. And I'm telling you, she says that about things that are so standard, but it's so cute because she came from this austere upbringing. So she'll come pick me up for a nail appointment, and I'm like, would you like a grapefruit soda water? And she's like, oh, what a luxury. Yes. I'm like,
And
okay.
I will never forget all of my yeah, there was no luxury. Imagine having a can of anything in my fridge growing up. Never. Just drink water from the sink. It's there.
Meanwhile, last time I was at Steph's house, I'm like, you need to change your water filter. This
Yeah.
tastes like garbage.
I know. I know. See, I don't know how to do those things. We never even had a filter.
It's so funny. Well, anyways, thank you for being the bestie and bestie that you are.
Same to you. This is so lovely, and I'm so glad we get to share this with the world.
I know. Awesome.
All
Talk to
right.
you later.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, come join us in a Well Circle. It's our live, online, 12-week course and community where we teach you how to create a personalized financial plan alongside hundreds of other women building wealth. It will change your life and your money for good. You can apply at factorawealth.com/wealth circle. That's factorawealth.com/wealth circle. See you in the next episode.